welcome to the Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show, hosted by me, yours truly, Jeffrey Bellomo, where we discuss all things estate planning and elder law, and well, hey, anything else we want to talk about. And today, I have a very special guest, my dear friend, Carolyn Pugh. Carrie, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing really well. So for those of you who don't know, Carrie is the attorney in our office who I can't even say enough good things about. I cannot wait to talk to her today. Carrie is phenomenal. She's a wonderful human being and an absolutely incredible attorney and a dear friend. Carrie's been with us for several years now at Bellomo Associates. First time we've done a podcast together too, right, Carrie?
It is.
Oh,
yep.
Man.
Yeah. I don't know how we made it 2 years.
I don't know. I have no idea. This is freaking awesome. So before we get into that, I do want to just do my normal disclaimer like I always do. We may not get into legal technical today. Who knows? So just in case, I want to remind everybody that please do not take what you hear from this show, or any other show for that matter, to constitute legal advice. If you are looking for legal advice in a specific situation, please call an attorney licensed in the state that you reside in, who specializes or practices in the area that you are looking for advice in, and meet with them and discuss your facts specifically, and then and only then should you take information that you receive to constitute legal advice. This show is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only, and believe you me, we will be entertained today. That I can promise you. So, all right, now that we got that out of the way, just a reminder, at Bellomo Associates, we educate in the areas of estate planning and elder law. We have free educational workshops in the area of estate planning, crisis Medicaid planning, life care planning, and administration, both probate and trust administration after a loved one passes, and finally, special needs planning. We educate in all those areas so that you have the information up front, you will know cost up front, and then you can decide if it's a fit to work with Bellomo and Associates. So, now we are on. So, Carrie, I never asked you this question before, and I've always wondered it. Why law school? Like, what got you there? What made you want to do law school? Because I know you love animals, so I just am a little surprised on the fact that you ended up going to law school.
So I actually do have a degree in animal science. My undergraduate degree from Penn State is actually in animal science, and then I have minors in equine science, horse science, and English. So I had always dreamed of going to vet school. Then I decided to do an internship in Washington, D.C. my junior year actually, of college at Penn State. I had a professor there who said, you know what, you would make an amazing attorney. And so I started thinking about it, and I decided to think more about it. And then it helped that 3 of my best friends were also going to law school. So I decided to switch gears and decided that my pets would be my outside of work passion, not my work itself, and decided to go to law school. And the rest is history.
You know, I never knew that. I did not realize your degrees. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever think about or try to get into any type of legal area with animals and stuff?
So I did, and I've done some contract work, with riding stables, and I've done some, dog bite cases, which are not fun and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to specialize in that area. Okay. So I did do some, and I kind of sold myself as having that expertise, which kind of bleeds into other areas of law. Yeah. It's been helpful since I've been at Bellomo when people are talking about farms and farmland preservation and stuff too. So, but I do think that just having the animal science degree gives me that whole, other perspective, before law school. So it's kind of cool to see where they can combine and intertwine sometimes.
That's really neat. That's cool. So tell us about your career path and how you ended up at Bellomo at the end. I know you didn't start here, so I just would love to hear a little bit about where it started and how it got here.
Right. So when I graduated law school, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. So I decided to do a clerkship with a judge in York County, Judge Adams. He was actually just taking the bench at that time, and he hired me as his first law clerk. So I started working the same day he took the bench. I think it was like January 2nd or something of 2000, and I don't even want to date myself, but it was a long time ago. But anyway, so he took the bench, and I worked for him for a year. He's an amazing person, probably one of the nicest people I know, and also super smart. And when I left him, he was adamant that it was going to be a 1-year clerkship. You need to get out of here and practice after a year. So at that time, he told me that no matter where I go, I should try and do some children and youth work representing kids in foster care so I could get into court. He's like, that's one way you're going to spend a lot of time in the courtroom. Yeah. So when I left, I went to work for Blakey, Yost, Bupp and Rausch, and I was there for a couple of years doing a lot of municipal work, family work, some civil litigation, and then I was also doing children and youth work where I represented kids in foster care. So I got to go into the courtroom, and I found that that was really what I loved. Yeah. So I decided when I left there that I was going to do a lot more of that. So I went to work for Dan Fennick, another family law attorney in York. I did a lot of children and youth work there. I did a lot of family law, and I did a lot of school law there, which was a lot of fun. He was like the school law wizard in York County before he retired. And so I learned a lot from him. And then I decided that I wanted to try and go it on my own. I wanted to try and have my own firm and really focus on the things that I enjoyed, which was the children and youth work. Right. I became a mediator and a conciliator for custody cases, and I had my own law firm for, I think it was about 7 years. And then I realized that the stress of being your own employer is a lot. It's really stressful. It was a ton of running back and forth to court all the time. And so I started looking for something that might be a good fit. I looked a lot of different places, and then I saw your post on Facebook actually saying, hey, we're looking for an attorney, and then the rest is history. And I think, so yeah, so that's kind of how we connected.
So it was a Facebook post?
I think so, yeah.
Wow, I thought I had called you. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe you did, but it was either way. Our world's connected, and I think I'm in the right spot now. So,
but even better, that's so
cool. Yeah. So Facebook is pretty cool for those kind of things. Yeah,
it really is. Wow, that's fascinating. And had you ever thought about elder law or estate planning before?
Not so much. I mean, I did some estate work. I did some POAs, and I did a couple of small estates. But I think it's like I didn't realize how much it would connect and kind of connect with what I've been doing, helping people. I mean, that's what I did when I worked into the children and youth work, was I help people. And so doing that in just a different format has been great. It's been a lot less stress, but just as much fun and just as much just as rewarding. So.
I remember being concerned, and probably still is a valid concern of, because you love the courtroom so much. I mean, we don't do a lot of that. Is that something that you struggle with, or has it been all right?
It's been all right. I actually ran into an attorney friend of mine today. I was walking down the street back from lunch today, and he flagged me down and said, "Hey," he's like, "what are you up to?" I'm like, "Oh, just had lunch." And he's like, "Do you miss the courtroom?" And I said, I miss the courtroom, but I don't miss the running around. I don't miss the constant stress. I was like, I think I get the same kind of experience teaching the workshops that we have. I get to be in front of a group of people. I get to educate, which is a lot of what you're doing when you're in the courtroom, believe it or not. You're educating the judge, you're educating the other attorneys. So it's kind of a similar experience. And then having that little bit of time that I go into court for guardianships, keeps me fresh. And yeah, no, I don't miss it. I thought I would miss it a whole lot more. So
well, I'm very grateful that you like guardianships, because as you know, I turn into a pumpkin when I walk into a courtroom. So I do my best to stay out of there if I can. So it is so wonderful that you enjoy it, and that it's actually something that you kind of get a little bit of a high from. And that's great. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. So what's your favorite thing about workshops? I mean, is there anything? I know you enjoy them, so that's cool.
It's funny because if you had told me when I started with you that I would enjoy workshops, I would have laughed at you, and I probably did laugh at you, because I had never taught anything. I had done a couple of CLEs here and there, but those are different because you're already educating legal minds. I think I just like the fact that people come to us to learn, and when they walk out, they know so much more. And even if they don't come back to us to hire us for to do an estate, they're learning things, and they can share that education with their friends. I mean, education is huge for me. Back when I was doing school law, it was huge, and now it's huge on making sure that our clients know what they're getting, know what we can do for them, and understand the process. So just seeing those light bulbs go off, and also just the interaction with the audience and with our clients in the classroom setting is fun. I know they laugh at my jokes occasionally. That's kind of a nice feeling. So I'm not quite as funny as you are, but it's nice to get a few laughs here and there. So I don't know. Yeah,
I always tell people that you never get sick or tired of laughs. When people actually engage, it makes the whole thing much better.
Right. Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So very cool. Yeah, I'm enjoying that. The teaching part is so fun.
It is. It really is.
People understand what we're doing. That is so cool.
Yeah.
So I know that you still love horses, and that the equine is still certainly something that you're very passionate about. So tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So I am a huge horse lover, a huge dog lover. I started riding horses when I was in first grade. My best friend's mom had horses at the racetrack, at Penn National Racetrack, and she actually taught me to ride. And my friend is still my best friend. She's been my best friend since kindergarten. So her mom taught us both to ride together. And then, of course, after I had taken lessons from her for a while, I started bugging my parents for a horse. And I bugged them for a number of years until we finally moved back to York. We had been living in Mechanicsburg in a development. And we moved back to York and got a few acres. And my parents finally relented and got me my first horse when I was in 8th grade, actually 7th grade.
Okay.
And so my dad built me a little barn. My dad and my brothers built me a little barn in the backyard. And I had a horse, and then my mom got a horse, and we had a pony. So I had my backyard horses, which was a lot of fun, a lot of work. I was out there in the morning before school. I was out there in the evenings after school. So it's a lot of work, but it was so much fun. And so I've been riding ever since. I used to compete back in law school, and just after law school, I did some competing and showing. I did some 3-day eventing. Now I just like to kind of trail ride and go out and enjoy nature and be with my horse and my dog. And the barn is my happy place. It's where I go to relax. It's my therapy, and it's just very, very rewarding.
And a very naive question. I've obviously never owned horses. I'm very allergic, so
I know.
I stay as far as I can. Pretty expensive too, I imagine?
They are expensive.
Okay.
So in law school, I actually kept my horse by mucking stalls. Cleaning stalls on the weekends was how I paid for my board when I was in law school, yeah. So I did a lot of stall cleaning, and then when I graduated, same thing. I was cleaning stalls Saturdays and Sundays to pay for my horse. My parents managed to keep 3 horses for the first year I went to college, and then they're like, you know what, this is too much work for us. It's too expensive. So I got to keep my horse. The other 2 horses we sent to some friends of ours. But I managed to keep 1 horse. I've had 1 horse at all times ever since I was, I guess 12 was when I got my first one. So. But yeah, they're expensive. It's not a cheap hobby. It's my friends. I have a couple of attorney friends who are horse people as well, and they say they work to support their horse habit. So, which is kind of true. Yeah. So,
I felt that way about my dog, but
well, I have a dog too. So
like
yeah,
it, right?
So yeah, and I got the double whammy because I got the dog too. So yeah.
Well, speaking of,
yes.
So our dogs hang out together.
They do. Yes, they do. I think your little one bosses my big one around. So yeah, so I have an 85-pound pit bull mix, and you have a Bichon. Is that what she is?
Yeah, Bichon 3, yeah.
And how much does she weigh?
15, 16 pounds?
Yeah.
Maybe?
So she's like, my dog's like 8 times the size of her, and she's the one sitting up on her queen, bossing them around. My dog's a big baby. Yeah, he loves daycare though. They have a great time there. So
yeah, it is fun watching the video and seeing them in there. Every now and then I'll catch, because they tend to go the same days a lot.
Yeah,
so it is so neat. Like she just goes in there. She's like the queen. Like she sits on that thing, and I'm always worried because she's often in the big dog room, and they're like, "Oh, don't worry about her. She's fine."
Right. Yeah. So I don't think she has any problem taking care of herself. So
no, it doesn't seem like it. Like for as tiny as she is, I've seen a few times when somebody will come up behind her, and she just like turns her head around, and they just back off.
Yeah.
What did she just say to them?
Yeah, right. You kind of wonder.
She did something or said something or barked. She doesn't even really bark that much, so I don't know. She must.
The body language. Dogs are big on horses and dogs both body language. If you watch them, if you just sit and watch a field of horses, or watch a room full of dogs, you can start kind of catching on to the little subtle body language cues that they give. It's really fascinating. I mean, horses in particular are amazing. They're used in therapy situations, and a lot of that equine facilitated therapy is not even on horseback. It's all just being in a room with horses and like interacting with them as part of the herd, which really is kind of cool. Yeah, their animals are pretty fascinating to watch.
Now, do your horse and dog get along well? I think
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm really fortunate. My dog is awesome. He comes along on rides with me. I don't have to keep him on a leash. He's pretty cool. He's not as wary of the horses as he probably should be. He tends to walk in front of them occasionally. My horse is chill. He'll just push him out of the way with his nose, and so yeah, they get along great though. I'm really lucky.
Yeah, if you ended up getting a new horse, you'd probably have to be careful, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm more worried about getting a new dog someday. When my dog is gone, I'm more worried about that. Horses are pretty, a lot of horses are used to being around other animals. Particularly, my horse was a racehorse before I had him, and on the track, they were around dogs, cats, people, goats, chickens, other horses. So they get pretty used to all of that.
All right, that makes sense. So to be the dog would be a little probably skittish.
Yeah. So.
Oh, wow, cool. And I know a little bit, about you were mentioning your happy place before, being in the barn. You have another place that's your happy place up north. I do know that, for sure.
Yes. So my family has a place up at Moosehead Lake, Maine. It's been in our family since 1965. My grandparents bought a place up there in 1965, which was the vacation home for my mom's side of the family for years. And we've always been going up there. And then in 1999, the house next door came up for sale, and my parents were able to buy that. And they've really just turned it into like this family sanctuary. It's, big enough that we can all be there together. My other uncle has a house on the other side that he bought a few years ago. And so it's just a huge family but a family, place to go. And we've been going there. I've never missed a summer yet. So it's been, usually a week or two every summer we get up there, and it's just beautiful, relaxing, peaceful, quiet. It used to be totally off the grid. Now we have internet, which I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Right. But, it enables me to work from there occasionally, which is good. But it's just wonderful. I mean, we spend family time up there, and just to spend time with my nieces and nephews and my parents, and it's a lot of fun. So
I remember the first time that you went up there when you were with us, talking to you, and I remember thinking, wow, she sounds so much more relaxed. Like, just you can hear it in your voice. Like, it's clearly a place that you were able to just relax.
It really is. It's just, and it's, Moosehead Lake is pretty remote. It's about 3.5 hours into Maine once you get to Maine. So it's kind of, I always tell people it's near where the Appalachian Trail ends. So It's pretty remote. I mean, the town itself only has one stoplight, and it's got one grocery store. It has 2 or 3 restaurants, and that's about it. Actually, they had a McDonald's for 1 year, and it failed. It went out of business because there just wasn't the business, and people just weren't going to McDonald's. They don't go up to the Maine woods to go to McDonald's. So it's a cool place. It's just quiet. It's mostly hikers and people who just want to be outside. So it's wonderful. I mean, if I could figure out a way to work from there, I probably would. But it'd be, of course, then it wouldn't be my happy place probably. It might lose some of that appeal. But it's wonderful up there.
So with only 2 or 3 restaurants, you probably eat in a lot.
We cook. Yeah. So when my family's up there, usually I have 4 brothers, so usually a couple of my brothers are up there with their families, and we take turns, as cooking for the whole family. We always have a big family lobster night, which is chaotic. We usually have as many people there as we can get there, and we cook lobster, and we're eating all over the house because there's not room for us in the dining room. And it's so much fun. It just is a blast. I mean, the little kids, my nieces and nephews, have a blast with my cousin's kids, and it's just fun. I don't know. It's just a great family vacation.
And it is on the lake, so
yes,
that's beautiful.
Right.
The pictures.
Yeah, we're right on the lake. So the houses that were built back in the 40s, which is when ours was built, were allowed to be close to the lake. Now they have to be back over 100 yards. So we're only 30 feet from the lake, but they're not even allowed to build them that close anymore. So we're really lucky that we're that close to the lake. So most of the other houses that are being built are back in the woods. So.
Oh, wow. Do they have a view or no?
A little bit through the trees, but they're also not allowed to take trees down. We're not allowed to take trees down between the house and shore anymore either. They're really trying to keep the shoreline pristine because it's one of the few pristine pieces of wilderness on the East Coast. It's very, it's really untouched, which they're trying to keep that. So there's a lot of restrictions about building and improvements and all that. So.
Wow. And I know your dog loves the lake.
Oh gosh,
I've seen pictures of him jumping and swimming.
Yes, he does. We're lucky. We are able to take our dogs up there, and my brother has a couple dogs, and my parents have a dog. So usually, in addition to about 20 people, there's usually 5 or 6 dogs running around, and it's just controlled chaos, but it's fun.
That does sound like a lot of fun.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, and you've been able to work from there, like you said, though. You don't want to do it all the time because I think it takes away the fun.
Right, but it's it's good, especially during COVID. I was able to do a lot of my hearings from up there. I spent several weeks up there during COVID, actually.
Oh, wow.
Because the courts were all remote at that point, and so we got an internet connection up there, and it's nice because then my brother and my sister-in-law, we can all work a little bit if we need to. We can check our emails. We can hop on a call here and there. So it's nice to be able to do that and not have to worry about what we're going to come home to, what we're missing at work. Just be able to stay in the loop a little bit without, working too hard while we're there. So it's nice. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, you always say you never ask a question you don't know the answer to, and here I go, right? So, has there been anything in particular about working at Bellomo and our clients and our practice area that you like or that you enjoy or?
I think just our family atmosphere at the office, having a whole team that is behind you, that supports you, that's there for you, not only on a professional level, but just on like a personal level too. Everybody at Bellomo has your back, and that goes from our team members to our team members having our clients' backs as well. We will go out of our way to do whatever we can for our families, for each other, and for our clients. And just having that team support is amazing. It was something I didn't have when I had my own firm and was working for myself. And it's something that I love about being there. If something happens, everybody's got your back. Whether, like I said, professionally or personally, it's just awesome to have such wonderful people that work with us.
I remember when I was on my own, all by myself, just being almost lonely. Like, you're kind of on an island by yourself. And then I think it was about 6 months later we had our first team member, but Nate had to leave to go back to Pittsburgh, and so I was kind of like alone, and I'm walking around the office, and you don't have anyone to talk to. So that was hard for me.
Right.
It was very difficult. I don't know that I could have done it much longer than 6 months, really.
Right. Yeah, and having like so many like brilliant professionals behind us, attorneys are great, but we don't know everything. No. So having our amazing paralegals and having the firm meetings that we have and the team meetings that we have to talk about things, it's just amazing because it's 2 heads are always better than 1 or 10 heads or however many heads you have in a room. Yeah, it's always great to be able to bounce ideas off of each other and talk about things. So I think that's what I love absolutely the best. And then our clients are wonderful too. I mean our clients are all so nice and so grateful, that we're able to help them. So it's just nice to have that relationship with them too.
Yeah, so when you're deciding to do something and creating it, it was always I didn't like when I was at other firms where I didn't feel like the team members were part of it. I didn't feel like their say, their word really mattered, or that they had a real say into what was occurring, and I had this vision of it not being that way.
Right.
But yet, it is hard to create that, and I really do believe that we've created an environment where, we're all rowing the same direction. To use a rowing analogy, we're all kind of headed in the right direction. And you're right. I mean, I know that if something's ever wrong, I've got a lot of people behind me that are going to jump in and help out.
Right.
I know it sounds cliche, but it really is true.
It's funny because when you said that about, other firms, when I first started working at Bellomo, we had a team retreat coming up, like I think 2 or 3 weeks after I started. And I was dreading that team retreat because I've been at firm retreats before that were just not fun at all. And when I remember about that retreat is that you and I sat in the back row, and the rest of the team were the ones who led the retreat, who did most of the talking. And I was just so shocked at how different it was, and how it was an enjoyable day, and how everybody left that room feeling like we'd accomplished things, and how it wasn't, driven by us, as being the attorneys. It was driven by everybody. And I don't think anybody in that room was quiet. Everybody talked, which is just cool. That doesn't happen anywhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah, particularly not in most law firms.
Well, a few years ago, we had a team member who, we agreed together, it was time to move on, and one of the comments that she had said was, everybody's so into this and your retreats and rah-rah, and I don't want to be rah-rah. I don't want to have meetings together and see where we're going. It doesn't matter to me. You just tell me what to do. And I said, look, this is not going to be for you then, because
right.
I truly believe in everybody being on the same page and having each other's back. And, I don't think that the vision should be set by me, but I think how we're going to get there should be by the team and
right.
everybody else, because I'm sort of just one small piece of it. And she was like, you're right. And I'm like, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. No.
It's wonderful.
Well, I have to say it's probably the happiest place I've ever worked too. I mean, when I came in for my interview, I was like, is this for real? Or are they have something pumped into the air system just because I'm coming here today? But no, it's just everybody, I think, we all have our bad days, but everybody enjoys their job, and everybody has the same focus, that being client driven and, team driven, which is not something you find most places. You don't see that. You don't walk in the door and have that family feel in most places, particularly not law firms. Our firm does not feel like a law firm when you walk in the door, which is cool, which is amazing. So
you almost have to work at other law firms. I mean, I think people come from different businesses and they're like, no, this feels pretty similar. Yeah, because you weren't in a law firm. I think the law firms, and this is not a bash on law firms, but I think we've all come up in a certain style where the lawyers kind of just dictate and everything is done by the lawyers and how they want. And wow, that's great. We only know what we know. I mean,
Right.
I think it's great to get other people's opinion and buy-in and all kind of be on the same page and have each other's backs, and it's fun. I just love being a team member. I love being there with everybody, and the way we help each other, but also banter. It's kind of fun.
It is fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
I've always loved the watching you. I guess it was last year in particular. I'm thinking at the picnic, at the maintenance picnic, interacting and seeing, like, sitting with clients and them just coming over to me saying, Carrie is so wonderful, like she just cares so much about us, and that's just so fun for me to kind of see everybody engaging in that and interacting with the clients. It's really a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool event because we all get to like have that interaction with clients that's not really sitting in the office. It's not sitting in front of a stack of documents. It's that ability for everybody on the team to interact with our clients in a relaxed atmosphere and just to kind of let loose and have some fun, which is kind of cool. I mean, that's definitely something that's unique, I think, to us, and I think everybody enjoys that day. Our clients and firm alike, everybody enjoys that day, which is just fun.
Yeah.
So
and I think that's a little different too. I mean, I always kind of joke with clients and say, you want to get to know me personally and get to know Carrie personally and Jay personally. And someone joked in a room one time and said, well, what if we don't like you? And I said, well, then you shouldn't be working with us.
Right.
Wouldn't you rather know that? Like,
right.
Call me crazy, but you're not hostage. Like there's certainly other people out there, and they're like, well, that's an interesting thought. And I'm like, no, I mean, we really hope you do like us, and we hope that you enjoy being around us and that you consider us your friend. But if that connection isn't there, then maybe there's a different problem.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's crazy.
Well, I mean, they're trusting us with, their livelihoods, which, I wouldn't trust someone I didn't like with my livelihood. So they, I mean, that's why, I agree. I think if, it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. But I think that's the exception rather than the rule. I like to think most people like us.
Yeah.
So,
100%. So. I can't even really think of many, to be honest. But I suppose it is a risk when you say it that way,
right.
if that's your litmus test. But on the other hand, if that's the case, then I think it's time to find someone that would be more of a fit. I can think of one person years and years and years ago. You know me, I wear a button down to work. I dress pants, shoes, and dress shoes. And he says, young man, where's your 3-piece suit? And I said, well, I wear that in court, I wear that to funerals, but generally in the office, I'm in a button down, a Bellomo logoed button down. And he said, well, I expect a lawyer to be in a suit at all times. And I said, well, how about I refer you to another attorney in the area I know you'll get along well with, and I know that, it'll be a good fit. And I did, and they love each other. I remember both of them telling me about it later and what a great relationship they have. But I just, we are who we are, right? I mean, Carrie is Carrie, Jay is Jay, Jeff is Jeff. I mean, we are who we are, and we're not going to, change. And he said, well, can't you just wear a suit the next time I come? And I said, but here's the problem. Yes, I could. But what if I forget one day? Or if that's the relationship that we're building, then I'd rather just be who I am and you be who you are. And he's like, all right, that's fair. And
right.
I think I love that about us. Like, we are who we are.
We are definitely not like the attorneys on Suits. I don't know if you've ever watched that show.
I have. No, we are not.
No, we are not. No. If that's what you're looking for, then that's not what you're going to find with us. So.
No, not at all. Not at all. But, yeah, you said earlier it's over 2 years now, right?
Yeah, it's been over 2 years. Yeah, time has flown by. It's crazy. On one hand, I feel like I just walked in the door, but on the other hand, I feel like I've been there forever. It's been a lot of growth. I mean, a lot of learning and a lot of growth. I mean, it's been awesome. I finally feel like, this is where I'm meant to be. It's kind of, yeah.
Well, you jumped in. I mean, you jumped in a hurry because we certainly needed you to be in meetings, and man, you picked it up so fast. Like I'm always amazed at that because I feel like for me it took me 20 years to figure it out. But man, you guys figured it out way quicker than I ever did. So it's wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think it's it's great that there's three of us. Again now, it was a little lonely. It was just the two of us. I think having third body in the room just really helps too. And Jay's been awesome so far, and I think it's great. I think we all get along and we all like each other, which is a huge bonus. And I think we all are good at like filling in the gaps, and backing each other up and thinking outside the box. If one of us is thinking one thing, we're okay with challenging each other and questioning it, which is awesome.
Yeah, so. I was over in Lancaster a lot, too, when it was just the two of us. So we didn't really see each other at all for a while.
No.
I mean, it got very lonely. So this is awesome. It's working out really well. So, well, as I fully expected, the time is already up. I cannot believe this. Like, I literally looked over. I'm like, oh, no, I want to keep going. So we're going to do another podcast at some point so that Carrie and I can continue this conversation, because we could probably go for days. So we'll probably do one more and talk about some different stuff. But thank you so much, Carrie, for joining us. Thanks to my listeners for being on the Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, if you're looking for education, check us out on the web at www.bellomoassociates.com. That's Bellomo, B as in boy, ELLOMO, 717-845-5390. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
The Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show, hosted by me, yours truly, Jeffrey Bellomo, and my special guest, Carolyn Pugh, an attorney at Bellomo Associates. And until next time, we'll see you real soon.